World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to World Pro Racing. It's Wednesday night. It's time for USF 2000 Series Championship action with Alex Goldschmidt and Chris Buxton, your official commentators for the next 4 weeks. Firstly, our sponsors, we must thank profusely once again, as always. So, Gaming Malta, Thrustmaster, GT Omega Racing, HyperX, where we're all gamers, and AMD. Warm welcome to all our viewers on the World Pro Racing feeds. That includes Facebook Live, YouTube and Twitch, and of course to our viewers on esports television, motorsport.tv and TVM Sports in Malta. Good evening, Chris. How are you, my friend? It's only been 7 days, but the action roaring up another gear once again.
Absolutely, and we head to a classic American circuit. There are very few things that say America more so than Indianapolis. Probably Cadillac. That's about as only thing that's more American than this incredible brickyard, as it's affectionately known. Now we're using the 15-turn variant this time around, and judging on what we saw last week at Adriana, I fully expect to have some incredible action. And the point, of course, being so close at this stage, it is all to play for.
Yes, coming into this round, the person that really put the cat amongst the proverbial pigeons was David Kalasai, who has an 18-point advantage coming into this round. He took not only the race victory, he took pole position, he took leading the most amount of laps, which nets you 5 points, and also for starting the race. And there they are. Dean Vella from GT Omega RPM Esports and Kian Butler in Lightspeed Esports rounds out the top three. Vella and Butler were both handed 5-second penalties post-race, but kept their positions that were respectively on. Hans Hannes and Jon Dix rounds out the top five. So there is the circuit itself. It has been opened, it broke ground, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, back in 1909, and it's been around for around about 112 years. And it's the home of the Indianapolis 500. It's also been home to the USF US Grand Prix. Anyone might remember the Michelin dramas a little while ago, back in, I think it was around about 2007, where all the Michelin runners went into the pits, and then 6 cars decided to run around the circuit, which included the 2 Ferraris of Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello. There you can see the schedule on our screens at the moment. Portimao is the halfway point of the season. That will be round 3 of the championship, and then we'll have Watkins Glen, so back over stateside, and then to good old sunny Cheshire for the 14th of April for the season finale at Alton Park. But Chris, so much tradition here at Indianapolis. The Indy 500, the Brickyard 400 for NASCAR. It is a circuit that is really going to test the drivers here this evening.
Yeah, totally. And like I say, it's just one of those circuits that just is so steeped in history for anything with an engine has pretty much been to Indianapolis, 2 wheels or 4. It was indeed 2005, would you believe, the Michelin incident. I still remember that was not a good day to be an F1 fan. But no. Yeah, it's one of these circuits that everybody knows as far as the oval is concerned, but the road circuit really does throw up some surprising challenges. It's not necessarily one of these tracks that kind of in the DNA of a racing driver. There's some tracks that everybody knows: Monza, Spa, Portimao to certain degrees, Silverstone. There's some tracks that if you're a racing fan, you know what they are, you know what they look like. The Indy circuit, the road circuit within Indianapolis, not quite so much. It's not used so much as far as huge broadcasts are concerned. So it's going to be one of these tracks that some drivers may struggle to familiarize with themselves with, which, as far as I'm concerned, adds to the challenge, is going to add to the spectacle.
Yeah, this particular circuit, was actually opened on August 12th, 1909, so it will celebrate its 112th anniversary this coming summer. It is the host of the GMR Grand Prix for the IndyCar Series, the Indianapolis 500, the NASCAR Cup Series Brickyard 400, the NASCAR Xfinity Series Pennzoil 150, and also has hosted sports cars in past years. The Intercontinental GT Challenge Indianapolis 8 hours. And the way that Roger Penske and his corporation have now actually got ownership of this circuit was a big coup for not only for American motorsports but also for IndyCar in general.
Very true, and centered around this circuit was when IndyCar had its the Indy racing scene had its split, didn't it? There was CART and Indy, two racing series that rivaled each other, and a lot of the sort of controversy around those organizations was who was going to race in Indianapolis. It holds that much importance as far as sort of American domestic racing, but like I say, it has far greater reach, fascination and appeal. Formula One, prime example. So it's just one of those tracks that holds so much importance. Such an integral part of American history.
Yeah, especially with the captain Roger Penske taking over, steering the ship at Indianapolis. But really, the biggest question I've got for you, Chris, and don't worry, I'm not going to put you on the spot and say who's going to win tonight, because that's an uncertainty. We both know that through our travels as commentators. But now we're going to head on to free practice. It's not just about the banking that Dean Veller's just about to go on to. It's also about the infield section. The infield section is not easy, especially through turns 1 to 5, and then you have that hairpin at 6.
Yeah, and this is the part that the drivers will be really need to familiarize themselves with. Now, that sounds like a bit of an obvious statement, but like I said earlier, it's a track that isn't necessarily ingrained in the DNA of everybody, because it's not a series it's not a circuit rather that sees a lot of publicity, certainly particularly outside of America. So as we see Dean Veller now coming into turn 1, you've been on the gas for quite a while. It's very easy to fly off into the into the polystyrene boards that separate this circuit from the oval. Coming through 2 and 3, they can pretty much floor it, forget about it, up until then turn 4. Now, the track does get deceptively narrow in some places, particularly here. Now, it looks wide from this camera angle, and these cars are quite small, so it won't necessarily feel like very claustrophobic. But side by side, in places like this, will catch some drivers out. Now, they're coming onto one of the straights, sort of come out turn 7, heading down towards turn 8, so you can see the heading over to the right-hand side. Now we're into another very twisty section. So drivers are going to be jostling for position on those straighter sections, and the straights aren't all that long. We're not using very much of that oval banking. So drivers are going to have to very much know how to handle the curbs, know how to handle the corners properly, which, again, sounds like an obvious statement. But because you don't have long straights to rely on to try and kind of slipstream or make up any time. I mean, the start-finish straight is quite long, but the circuit itself being 15 corners long and quite a few kilometers in length, they can't just rely on that start-finish straight to try and make up for any errors. As we now switch to David Kalasai, our round 1 Supremo. We can argue not at the top of the tree at the moment, but this is just practice. I mean, it's not exactly a gaping chasm that separates himself from Dean Veller at the moment. And there you go, deal 1.5 minute laps, and he's separated by less than a tenth. That's still a pretty good effort. But will David have some challenge this time around? There's a bit more longer straights this time than we saw last time on Adriana. But even still, there's a lot of twisty parts. So how are they going to set the cars up is going to be an interesting thing as well. Do they try and set the car up to be very efficient in the corners? Like I said, there's 15 of them. Or do they try and go for a skinnier wing setup to utilize those longer straights? That's going to be an interesting challenge for our drivers.
Very much the case. That's very much sort of like saying, are you going to put minimal drag on, like, say, at Monza? Now, we had a little bit of a jest about colours. Here's my highlighter. Here's Casey Lagarde's livery. Now, Rainer Resser caught the brunt end of the stick last night at the Nightmaster 2. So sorry, Rainer. But, it is a bright livery. You can probably see that right through Google Maps if you tried. But Casey Lagarde, currently 15th in the standings, didn't have a good run last time.
No, certainly not.
Vance last time didn't even start the race. Vishal Patel, I know, is actually off in Marienborg in Belgium. Was due to compete last night as well, so in the Nightmaster 2. So Vishal Patel, along with a few other regulars, the likes of Alex Johnson, who have been competing here on World Pro Racing. Some are actually getting back to real life racing, but they have assured me through multiple DMs on Discord or Twitter or Instagram, they've said, we will be returning, don't worry about that, we're not going to leave you all in the lurch. That's what we like to hear. Now, Casey Lagarde in the number 3 from Matrix Motorsport now is up by just under half a tenth, quickest through sector number 2 as number 3 puts on the brakes into the right-hander, just coming off of the banking, then through into the next left-hander, then it'll be a sweeping right. They'll be able to put the car to the left-hand side as wide as humanly possible, and Casey Lagarde looking to get closer and closer to Dean Vella, goes across the line, a 1 minute 37.565, puts the number 3 up to 9th position. There's Kian Butler, and he's up by nearly 2 tenths in sector 1 already. So, Lightspeed esports driver. Oh my goodness me! Now that's nearly 6 tenths, and that at the moment predictively can put him up for what would be a 1 minute 35.8.
Oh no!
Compromised. Yeah, that's Darrell Russell, I believe, in the 21. That's just compromised it, and Kian Butler decides to exit stage right and hit the escape button. That would have been an absolutely brilliant lap and would have put him below the 136s there, Chris.
That's a great shame. That was looking like an absolutely storming lap. But again, remind me, this is just practice. We may not, well, I say may not, we probably haven't seen the absolute blistering pace of everybody just yet. As we look at Ruisil Vieira from Atlantic Motorsport, the 27 car, just coming through turn 8 now. 3 tenths down on the pole time in sector 1, but still a personal best. So pushing on and looking to improve. 7.5 tenths from the top spot as Dean Vella has now just come back out on circuit to utilise the last 4.5 minutes of this session. Purple sector 2, very nicely done for Rue there. Now, where did Mr. Vieira? Oh, and that's gone wrong. That's exactly what I was saying. Unfamiliarity with the circuit. He's overcooked that one off the banking into turn 13 and hit the grass. And that is going to spell the end of your lap as we look at now Jorn Dix in 16th position at the moment. Again, lighting up the timing in sector 2. A lot of people getting that purple sector 2, which, that tells me that Dean Vella may not have had such a strong second sector. But then, in fairness, he hasn't been beaten yet. Not even by the mighty Kalasai. What can Jorn Dix do over the line? And that is a 36.7 that puts him up into 5th position, just 0.02 of a second behind Kian Butler at the moment.
Yeah, Jorn Dix actually was the only driver that scored 5 points for consistency at Adria International Raceway just 1 week ago. And that puts him level with Hans Hannes in 4th place overall. But Hans Hannes currently in 8th as Andy Birch goes P6 with a 1 minute 37.056. And all the way down to Unison Racing's Alexei Maizin in the 4. Top 9 at the moment, Chris, covered by just over 8.5 tenths of a second.
That is not bad at all, if that's a precursor for what we can expect to see in the race. As we see our current top of the board, I say pole sitter, it's not qualifying, so currently top of the tree, riding on board now. The car does shake around. It's not quite that bumpy, but it's not entirely smooth, the Brickyard. But again, it's more those curbs that'll catch the drivers out. We get a lovely onboard lap now. It's gone through 1, 2. That's the sweeping right-hander of 3. Now into the slower one of 4. You see just controlling the tail end of the car, just opening up the steering to keep the car pointing the right way. Now through 5 into 6. So we get the in picture as well. So just hugging that apex. He wants to stay over to the left-hand side to then catch the apex quite nicely with 7. Let the car wander over. Not all 4 wide line. Not all 4 wheels over the white line. That is not allowed. As he then switches back over to the right-hand side for turn 8. 90-degree left-hander. Car slightly misbehaving, but catches that one quite nicely. Now, again, these guys are taking that 9, 10, 11 contact quite well. Wow, that was very close to all 4 wheels off the white line. But look at the times, though. He's lighting up the sectors very, very well. Half a tenth up in the first one, nearly 4 tenths up in the second, Now, we've seen some laps go wrong here, and again, you saw the tail just get very loose as he's coming off the banking and into that second infield part of turn 13. That's where it went wrong earlier for a few drivers. Now, onto the last turn, flat out. Just keep the steering angle nice and steady. Don't scrub off. Scrubbing off as little speed as possible. This is likely to be a new top time. It's a 35.7 to maintain, or 0.7 of a second between himself and Kalasai, who's yet to return to the track. Well, even if he does, he's not going to be able to set a time. Oh, there's a few people squabbling for some track space. Tananel Kasasalu, a little bit of a lockup there, currently in third. It's going to be a fairly decent improvement from his previous time by the look, as he lost a couple of tenths from the pole time. So this could see a fairly decent improvement on his overall time. Let's see what it is. A 36.4. So he was a bit slower in that final set. We did see him very, very close to the car behind him, but that's an improvement up into second of this practice session.
Yep, ahead of current points leader, David Kalasai. There's Rui Silva Vieira. He's up. He's done a personal best in sectors 1 and 2. Number 27 rounding out the top 7. Can the Atlantic Motorsport driver improve? He does, and goes P3. Sets exactly the same time, a 1:36.403 in comparison with Tanel Kasesalu. So David Kalasai, I think, has had the warning shot well and truly fired across the proverbial bow there, Mr. Buxton.
Yes, that's a very much, you may not just dance off into the distance this time. Look at that, to the same thousandths of a second. For second and third, there was 1,000ths between 8th and 9th, I believe it was, as the tail of Lagarde's car getting all out of shape, but keeping that one on the straight and true anyway. Very nicely done, but what a benchmark we've just had laid down. We saw this last week as well, the practice session really highlighting just how good these drivers are. We may well see a very different pecking order this time. So you'd easily assume that David Kalasai would just be the runaway winner, being 18 points, over double that of second and third place Dean Vella and Kian Butler. But if that practice was genuine pace, it's not going to go that way at all.
But then there is the ultimate question. Is Kalasai holding something back? Because he might just be gaining, a lot of these drivers, David Kalasai, no exception. Dean Vella does a lot of sim racing. David Kalasai does. Kian Butler does. They all have very busy schedules. Some people who are sim racers, even professionals, have to work alongside a full-time job. So Kalasai might be just getting an idea, an inkling about the track itself. Now, he will have competed at this track before, obviously through GTR 24H back in January of this year, but that is in an LMP2 car. Now he's in a USF 2000 powered by a 2-litre inline 4, 170 brake horsepower Mazda lump, and now
bit of a difference.
All and sundry, a bit of a big difference there. Not so much downforce, more good old Formula Ford-esque style with slicks and wings. But it looks like they're all flooding out onto the circuit here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, with the Corvette safety car looking, just patiently waiting, making sure that hopefully no one gets into any strife at all. And this now is where the drivers have to really start pushing. Dean Vella, I think, is probably halfway through the pack as the timer is starting to count down at the moment. Andy Birch yet to exit out of the pits, but his teammate from Team Schmokin, Jan Dix, does go out. Nicolas Valleja not out yet, and it looks like Trevor Sharp in the number 10 yet to come out. Trevor Sharp not with us in the first round, but has joined alongside, I think, teammate Stephen Johnson in the number 85. And getting the tyres and the brakes up to temperature, as well as getting your confidence ready to go in for a hot lap, is ultra crucial here in qualification, Chris.
That it is. Interesting that a couple of drivers left it very, very late to come out. Some people aren't comfortable being this close to somebody else, and you can understand that. You don't want your own lap compromised, nor do you want to compromise the lap of others. But equally, having that slipstream down the longest sections of this track is very, very useful indeed. Dean Vella lets someone go past him. Oh, there's another one. Again, Dean Vella not wanting to give slipstream to others. So he's come to the back of this small train that he's now at. That yellow flag popping up isn't really going to be anything. That's just people giving themselves a bit of a gap ahead of them. As Dean Vella now gets on the loud pedal and gets on with it for his first flying lap of the night. All 16 cars now out on track. We'll see if that practice pecking order was anything to go by in the next 12 and a half minutes. Having on the brakes for turn 1. No lockups that we saw there. Car nice and balanced. So it looks like the heating of the brakes and the tyres, certainly for Dean Vella. Well, we haven't seen anybody locking up or flying off the road just yet. So it looks like everybody's done a good job. The nerves won't be jangling just yet, but later on in the session, maybe we'll see that. Interesting that Dean went for a very early apex there. You watch him against the car ahead of him that went for a much wider entry, although it seems to be working for Dean Vella now. He's almost under the rear wing of the car ahead. I think that's Max Carrion. I think that's the 83 ahead of him.
Yeah.
And they're both on a hot lap, so Max doesn't actually... It is indeed Max Carrion. Now, they're both on a hot lap. Max doesn't have to let him go. He's not under obliged to, although Dean has actually backed out of that. I think either Max made a mistake or just Dean was absolutely flying through that second section. So he caught Max much, much quicker than he anticipated. He's pulled over now. Someone else is going to go past him. I thought that was somebody there. I think that was
probably going to be Tanel Casasalo maybe, or
no,
maybe...
there was a Kalasai.
Well, Calasalu's just gone provisional pole with the 136.1.
Yeah, first one over the line.
And Casey Lagarde has now gone second. Well, Alexei Meisen's just popped up into P2 in the number 4. Kian Butler's just gone to within 25 thousandths off of Tanel Casisalu. Casey Lagarde's up to P4. Max Carrion up to 6 is now... The times are changing. David Kalasai has gone purple in sectors 1 and 2, and he's about to cross the line. 1:35.4. He was definitely holding something back in free practice.
Well, shocked was no one, really. That's oh my goodness me! What an absolute stormer he's pulled out of the back here. He's a very flash livery as well from our. I'd say debutant. We didn't see Trev Sharp last time out for TMS Racing, the number 10 car. You'd remember a livery like that. It's true. That's a cracker on that one. As he comes out to improve on his first lap. He's up by a bit. There we go, 39.4. He's down towards the turn end at the moment, but plenty of time to do something about that. But yeah, goodness, 35.4 from Kalasai. Again, he may well have felt the need not just to not come out again. Maybe he was 4th at the end of the practice session. And he's thought, well, I know what I've got in hand. I'm not going to show my cards just yet.
Yeah, Kieran McGinley, good evening. One of our regulars here on the commentary team for World Pro Racing. Loves Indianapolis. And he said, saving grace, he doesn't want to reveal how quick he is. Well, Kieran, newsflash for you, buddy. He's just gone and done that. Dean Vella has now done personal bests in sectors 1 and 2. He's down in 16th at the moment, but ahead of Tanel Casisalu, who's now on a hot lap. But again, we're seeing so many closer battles here at Indianapolis with the top 5. That's Kalasai, Vella, Casisalu, Kian Butler, and Jan Dix rounding out the top 5, all covered by just under a second. And then you look back to Ruiz Silva Vieira in the 27 Atlantic Motorsport entry. He's just over a second off of the pace from Kalasai. Then it's Alexei Meisen, Hans Hannes, Nicolas Valleja. Then we've got Dominic Rustemeyer, Casey Lagarde, and then Andy Birch rounding out the top 12. Steve Johnson, Max Carrion. And then we've got Sharp down in the number 10. That's rounding out the 16 strong. And it's been rather interesting, but we've still got 8 minutes of this session. I think Kalasai still might have more in the tank, Chris.
Oh, I didn't see which I don't know if it's Casasalu or Kalasai. Kalasai's just coming out of the pit, so I think it was Casasalu. We saw just having to do a bit of an emergency maneuver there to not slam into the back of someone coming into that turn 13. There he is. I didn't see who it is. He's very close behind. Oh, is that the Braun-esque car? It is. So that's who he nearly bundled into just now. but he'll want to try and maintain that gap. Wow, again, four-wheel slightly coming into turn 9. That's where you want the car really balanced. You need it nice and grippy and behaving itself through that bit. Now he's going to want a bit more of that slipstream, and he's getting quite a bit of a tow. Personal best in sector 2, so he's at the moment he's looking about half a second behind the pole time, which if he gets a decent sector 3 may improve in his time. He needs to find about 800ths of a second, which is quicker than you can blink, to overhaul Dean Vella. But look at that, just 25 thousandths between Casasano and Kian Butler at the moment. Oh, there's a bit of overtaking going on slightly further down the track. Does Casasano improve? He does not. So he remains in 3rd position. Like you said earlier, very, very close gaps between. Oh, Kian Butler did improve, though. He's just jumped up into 2nd in the 7 car with 4 tenths behind the top spot. There is Dean Vella now out on his next hot lap. It's just 6.5 minutes to go. I mean, he does disappear very quickly. You look at the clock 1 minute, you think, oh, I've got 12 minutes, I'm fine. And, you sit and relax for a minute, and suddenly, 6 minutes have disappeared. Well, that happens to me. I don't know if it happens to anybody else. But, I mean, that time can absolutely disappear. But look at 5, 6, and 7. Yondix, Silviera, and Maisin. That's only 2 tenths between those 3 positions. So, I think we're in for another really, really highly contested round.
Well, I mean, the thing is that the car that Casasalo was closing on was Hans Hannes. Now, those two came to slight tyre wall blows going into turn 1 at Adria for the first time. So, yeah, I think in some respects, Hans Hannes will probably be thinking, yeah, I might just want to stay away from Casasalo this particular time. But Dean Vella up so a bit of a dismal first sector for the Maltese driver. He's through sector 2. He's down by about 1.5 tenths. And Nathan Missud's spamming the YouTube chat at the minute. Nathan, just concentrate on what you're meant to be doing. Come on. Not spamming the chat.
Let the man have his fun. There'll be a killjoy. Oh, it's a new improvement, though, for Dean Vella. Back into 2nd position, just 3 tenths off the top spot now. Seeing a few more 35s coming onto the board. That's good to see. There is Kian Butler. So just kind of staying out of trouble. Max Carrion, personal best sector 1 and 2, but it's a little bit off the pace there. Max currently in 13th place. Looks set to improve by, again, a fair chunk if you can maintain that. New pole time from Kalasai, 35.440. He managed to knock off a few more hundreds. You're inhumanely quick, sir. Will you just sit and be quiet for the next 4.5 minutes? Give everybody else a chance. No, of course he's not. Over the line then for Max Carrion. That is a new personal best at 37.6. Sees him up a couple of positions in 11th.
Yeah, so David Kalasai. I think that was Hans Hannes trying to exit out of the pit lane and then saw Max Carrion run his way through. There's David Kalasai back on the circuit again. We've got just over 4 minutes of the session to go. So with the pace that Kalasai has been setting, you could have the opportunity maybe for another couple of laps in this session. So at the moment, it's David Kalasai from Dean Vella, Kian Butler, Tanel Casasalo, Jan Dix, Ruiz Silva Vieira, Alexi Maisin, Hans Hannes, Nicolas Valleja, Dominic Rustemeyer, rounding out the top 10, all covered by just over exactly to the decimal point, 2.2 seconds. Max Carrion in 11th, Casey Lagarde rounding out the top 12, and then it is Andy Birch in 13th, Steve Johnson.
Oh no!
Russell, massive moment for Dix there.
Yeah.
Whoops. And that was actually going through turn 1, I think, because he just improved and has gone exactly to within a second of David Kalasai. There's a moment there going through turns 2 and 3 for Hans Hanna. No, that was actually going through 14.
Yeah.
And absolute four-wheel drift. And Nathan Missage cheering on Dean Vella. Hans Hannes goes up to P7. And we've
That's
got less than
interesting.
3 minutes in the sessions.
Yeah, I mean, Hans Hannes was sat on the... Whoa, lovely talk about four-wheel drifting. Crikey, that was Casasalo really giving it plenty of beans coming out of turn 7. Yeah, Hans Hannes, he was 3rd last week. He sat on the podium. He had a lot of fighting, but we didn't really see him that far down the field. So maybe Indianapolis not a strong circuit for Hans, but we'll see. Like you say, we had impact between two drivers on turn one of the opening lap last week, so there will be drivers that will no doubt benefit from that kind of shenanigan going on. Will Casasano improve? I doubt by doing that, however. Overcut the entry.
Yeah, that's not going to help at all. Dean Vella sets the personal best in Sector 1. And
less than 400ths of a second behind Kalasai. Oh, that's close.
That's very close indeed. It's now he's still in the twisty stuff, about to head onto the banking, and using as much curb as you are allowed before your lap gets invalidated. Dean Vella down in Sector 2 by nearly 3/10. He's coming into the final couple of corners, but he'll have another chance at a flying lap here, Chris, and that could be rather important because he won't be happy because now David Kalasai will pick up another 10 points for a second successive pole position, which will put him on 44 points. So Dean Vella's thinking, what on God's green earth do I need to do to beat David Kalasai? And he gets closer. It's a 1 minute 35.802, and he still has got a lap in hand.
He's very close in sectors 1 and 3. If he just tidies up the middle one, he'd be fine. And again, look at Roy Silva Vieira's sector 1 time, only 800ths off the pole time. It's gone wrong somewhere in sector 2, so he's likely just to ignore this lap and then go again. So we're still seeing some potential improvements coming in. Well, there you go, 1.9. So he's had to bin this lap somewhere, either through traffic, because there is someone not too far ahead of him, or he's made a mistake somewhere. There is Dean Vella again at 200ths of a second, so he's even closer in sector 1 this time than he was last time. Does he have that extra bit in his pace? We know how quick he is. He came home second last time, so we'll see if he's able just to find that extra bit to dethrone Kalasai, who's obviously remained in the pits only 20 seconds or less than that. Now, that's a lot of drifting going on coming out of turn 11, but it does keep the car on the black stuff. What is it, sector 2? And again, he's lost more time in sector 2 than he did last time. So it's that middle sector that seems to be tripping up Dean Vella at the moment, but anything can happen in the race, though, as the checker flag is now out. So let's see where the rest of the cards fall.
Yep, Dean Vella about to come through the final couple of corners here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for round 2 of the World Pro Racing USF 2000 Series Championship. Dean Vella hurdles his way across the line. No improvement there, but he still will be alongside Mugen Sim Racing's David Kalasai on the front row. Kian Butler and Tanel Kasesalu, that's row 2. Jan Dix and Ruiz Silva Vieira still rounding out the top 6, but there is the Lightspeed esports car of Kian Butler.
That's probably invalid there, because it looked like he was off the track. Sometimes difficult to tell from that overhead camera angle. There's Hans Hannes, personal best in sector 2. Currently sits in 7th. This could be an improvement for him. Let's see what it is.
Close to the wall. Getting very close to the wall on the left-hand side, coming out of the final turn. You've got to have some stones to do that. Nicolas Valle also up. Looks like he's got the word afterburner emblazoned on the side pods of that number 18. He now comes through the final turn. And across the line goes the number 18, 1 minute 36.7. No improvement there. Second round in succession.
Nicely
David Kalasai. Yeah, David Kalasai. 44 points to his credit so far.
That's a big gap.
Yeah, it's now down to Dean Vella and Kian Butler. My apologies, Dean, for getting your surname wrong there. That's the thing when us commentators get rather excited. We tend to jumble words around, don't we, Chris?
Yeah, we invent new drivers and weird siblings and such like people on the fly. It happens. Yeah, 44 points for David Kalasai before we've even turned a wheel in anger at Indianapolis, and such only a 5-week season. That's a big gap to overhaul. But being that he built that gap so quickly does mean it's not impossible to do. One bad round for Kalasai, or if for whatever reason he can't make it one week, that gap's gone. So he can't just sit on his laurels and just let the car do the talking. He has still got to put the times in. But there it is. There's the grid, as we're going to see. So Kalasai once again leading the way. Dean Vela in second. So row 2 will be Kian Butler and Tanel Casasali. Jorn Dix and Rue Silva Vieira. Row 3, Hans Hannes and Alexei Maisin. Row 4, Nicholas Vieira and Domenico Rustemeyer round out the top 10. Take on row 5. And that's only 2 seconds from top to 10th. Max Carrion and Casey Lagarde in the highlighter flavoured car. Take on row 6. Andy Burt and Stephen Johnson row 7. That's, again, there's only a couple of tenths between those two. So there's fighting going to be going on everywhere, I think. Darrell Russell and Trev Sharp, the newcomer, take on the back row. Right. Time to get ready to rumble here at the Brickyard.
Yeah, quite appropriate you use those words here, because that's definitely a boxing standout, as in let's get ready to rumble. When it comes to the main well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event of the evening. Yes, that is the case, because we've got a 30-minute sprint race. For those wondering about further information about our events upcoming, such as the 2 hours of Mount Panorama this coming Friday, we'll be back for round 3 next week, actually, and it'll be the final day of March, the 31st, for round 3 at Portimao. We've also got German Fest happening next Tuesday, which is the 30th of March, which will have the BMW M6 GT3, and it will be held at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. We also have the first round of the HyperX Open Series taking place next Friday. And the first race, if memory serves me correctly, is Monza. So, or is it actually? Yeah, we've got German Fest 9th of April, and we've got the Italian job next Tuesday, which is 2 races, one at Monza, one at Imola. And you have to use, there are still slots available for the race for the 2 hours of Mount Panorama on Friday, still available. So head to worldproracing.com for further information. And if you've got a Assetto Corsa Competizione, you have a gaming PC, you have a sim rig, come and join us. It's free to enter, and there are prizes on offer, courtesy of our good friends at HyperX. And they say that we are all gamers. Well, I don't have a sim rig, but I do love talking about sim racing. But Chris, coming back to the race tonight, 30 minutes, a different challenge in comparison with Adria a week ago. Qualifying has given us an indication of what's going to happen. Kalasai's back on pole position, Bella's alongside, but it's the all-important runs to turn 1 that could start unfolding the chapters before our very eyes this evening.
Yeah, totally. If we recall back to Adria, that the run between the line and the first corner is really, really short. No such luck here. It's not long in motorsport terms by and large, but it's long enough for these cars to be doing a fair amount of knots by the time they get there. So they're having to not only just think about where they would normally brake, they've got to think about those around them. Again, sounds like an obvious statement. It's all well and good saying that when you're stationary, but in the heat of the moment, you've got so many things to think about. Where am I in relation to my braking point? Is there anybody else around me? Oh, this person's made a mistake. Are they going to fly into my tail? Etc. So there's a lot to be thinking about into lap 1, turn 1. And especially if you've had a bad start and you're suddenly swamped by people that you're not anticipating, it's a really hard thing to practice for. So then it's just all down to racing instinct. And we saw last week it didn't quite go according to plan for a few drivers. We saw bits of car being discarded before the first lap was even done. So someone like here in Indianapolis, where you're doing a fair amount of knots when you get to turn 1, that could be interesting.
Yeah, Dean Vela definitely does not want to be losing the front and right hand end plate of his front wing tonight, this evening, because that's going to be one of the biggest things. The aerodynamic efficiency of these cars, okay, however limited they might be, that is going to be one of the things that they need to preserve. It's all about mechanical sympathy, but you try telling that for a racing driver over a 30-minute sprint race, you've got another thing coming entirely. However, if you are watching on YouTube, why not give this video a share? Why not like the channel? And also hit the subscribe and the notification bell. That will give you all the relevant notifications of when future events are coming up here on World Pro Racing. I think very shortly we will be heading to the grid at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Kalasai has further extended his lead to a whopping 28 points over Lightspeed Esports Kian Butler and GT Omega RPM Esports Dean Vella, who round out the top 3. And what's more interesting, they have been the ones that have been at the sharp end of the grid in the first 2 evenings so far. Obviously, we've got a race ahead of us, Chris. The unpredictability factor here in Indianapolis is second to none.
Absolutely, and you've also got several areas where turns are very close to each other. So the 13 and 14 very, very close to each other. 1 and 2 very, very close together. So if you make a mistake, you're far more likely, unless you've absolutely flown off the road and into the grass, or deciding you're going to do the overlap instead, where one mistake is much more likely to affect somebody else, because there's several places where the corners are really, really close together. It's very easy to dump the throttle too much and spin the rears up, particularly early in the race. So, yeah, this is why we love motorsport, isn't it, as spectators, and certainly as commentators, because it's not all cut and dry, it's not all done and dusted until that final checkered flag falls. Yeah,
it's time to dot the I's and cross the T's. It's time to get ship shape and Bristol fashion here on World Pro Racing as we anticipate the start for round 2 of the USF 2000 series. David Kalasai and Dean Vella are on the front row ahead of Kian Butler and Tanel Kasesalu. That's the top 2 rows. Row 3, it's Team Schmokins Jon Dixon, the 14, and Atlantic Motorsports Luis Silva Vieira in the 27. Hans Hannes and Alexei Maizin in the 91, and the 4 round out row 4. Nicolas Valleja in the 18 and Dominic Rustermeyer in the 92. That completes the top 5 rows and thereby completes the top 10. Max Carrion will be in 11th. You've got Andy Birch in 13th, Steve Johnson in 14th, Darrell Russell in the number 21. He starts 15th. And last but by no means least, Trev Sharp in the number 10 from TMS Racing completes the 8 rows, 16 drivers with 30 minutes on the clock, and it will be a standing start just like last time. And here, Chris, it's going to be a little bit of a longer formation lap than what we had at Adria just a week ago.
Yeah, just a little bit, yeah. But I mean, some drivers are able to handle the nerves. I personally get very nervous at this point because I want to get on with it. I think we spoke about this last week. This is a point where I as a driver, I tend to get really nervous. Just the slow build up. You of course you're warming your tires, warming your brakes, you're doing all that stuff, but you can't help but think forward onto, okay, what am I going to do if, or this, just reminding yourself where your braking points are. I can't help but get just a little bit nervous at this stage, which of course can lead to mistakes. Who's going to hold their nerve? Some people revel in it, and I salute those that do. Some people thrive on the pressure and on the build-up that this phase leads to. So, it's going to be all down to the start. We had, I think, some of the best starts came from second or third row last week. So now the track is quite a bit wider, certainly initially, but everyone's going to be aiming for that first turn apex. And of course, if they get, if they're compromised into turn 1, they want to try and hold the inside lane for turn 2, and then they might be strung out to try in turn 3. So turn 1 may not necessarily see the end of those initial battles off the line. So lots to look forward to.
Yes, indeed. Normally, when you have 2 going into the first turn, 2 abreast here at Indianapolis, it is basically hold on for dear life. That's the biggest thing here. But Kalasai leads the field through towards the final couple of corners here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we head to the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve at Portimao in Portugal. A lovely track. Based not too far away, about an hour and 15 minutes away from Faro International Airport, right deep in the southern part of Portugal. But it's Kalasai that will lead the field up to the starting grid once again, unlike the GT Racing and the GT Racing that we have here on World Pro Racing, as Nathan Mefsood's already got his pompons out for Dean Vella, I see on the YouTube chat. Hashtag Let's Go Vella. Well, who is your money on tonight for racing here this week at the World Pro Racing USF 2000 Series Championship here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Alex Goldschmidt and Chris Buxton on commentary duties as they now start lining up into their grid positions. A few other drivers getting ready and set as we await for the remainder of the 16-car grid to get in. We now anticipate the start here at the Brickyard, owned by the captain, Roger Penske, and the Penske Corporation. So very shortly, the revs will start to rise. And they're off and away, and it's a good start from Kalasai. But here comes Cian Butler. He's trying to go one way, trying to go the other. Nearly making it 3 abreast, and Cian Butler trying to go up the inside of David Kalasai into turn 1. Dean Vella towards the outside. It's 3 abreast for the first row, but Kalasai takes the initial advantage. Vella runs wide going through turn 1, and that allows Cian Butler to close in on him, but Kasisalu nearly comes to blows with him. Jon Dix having a bit of a ding-dong battle of his own right with Silva Vieira. As Kasisalu through turn 3 goes very wide, and that's Jon Dix up the inside saying thank you very much, and then onto the grass goes Kasisalu. Oh, and Silva Vieira manages to keep away from him. How on earth did Kasisalu hold on to that one? But he just clashed wheels with Vieira just there and then. But Kalasai strikes away into the distance with an initial lead over Dean Vella and Cian Butler. It's a repeat of Adria all over again.
It is, but without the discarded carbon fiber this time. I didn't see any discarded car parts at all. But what a start. That was a cracking start from Cian Butler in particular. He had the inside line, but he broke very, very early. He decided that discretion is the better part of valor. There's Casey Lagarde up to 10th position now in the highlighted coloured car. Lots of people to try and get a slipstream off of. Have a look on the inside line down to 13. You need to be much more alongside someone to make that move from that far. But look how squiggly some of these cars are at this early stage. Dean Vella already feeling the need to defend. It's Cian's now car on the inside of him coming through that final turn. He had a great run through that final sector. He's not quite got the legs over Dean Vella at the moment, but there's the onboard from Cian Butler's perspective. You can see that Dean Vella's only just got the momentum, but can he outbrake Dean Vella into turn 1 side by side as they come through the first turn? But Dean Vella's going to have the inside line, and that's compromised Cian Butler's run. You saw how much he was fighting the wheel to keep the car steady, and now he's under pressure for that 3rd position.
Yeah, that's Jon Dix just behind him, and then that looks to be Vieira just behind as well. Kasisalu down into what is now, that was a moment and a half for Cian Butler, but he kept that planted, mashed the throttle, span up the rear wheels, and that pulled him right up close and personal to Dean Vella. There's Silva Vieira, and he's got Kasisalu breathing down his neck. Hans Hannes just behind in the number 91. Down the back straightaway, as it looks like Kasisalu trying to get the inside line through on Vieira, but Vieira keeps it planted to the outside, now into the apex for the next right-hander. Well, Vieira keeping Kasisalu and Hannes at bay, and we are just under 3 minutes in, and it looks like at the moment Kalasai, look at the gap. I mean, that is absolutely inhumane. David Kalasai, I know he's quick in an LMP2, and he said it was a bit of an adjustment. 3.1 seconds. That's Kalasai's lead over Dean Vella, and now Vella's trying to stretch a lead away from Cian Butler. Jon Dix having a good run in 4th position ahead of Ruiz Silva Vieira, who now has Tanel Kasisalu from Estonia trying to go up the inside. They're going down the long straightaway here at Indianapolis, down into the right-hander at turn 1. Kasisalu will have the inside run. Oh, he nearly went into the side pod of Silva Vieira, and that has now allowed the number 91 of Hans Hannes to really close up. Nicholas Vieira just in front of Alexei Maisin. Great run by Casey Lagarde at the moment. He's ahead of the 85 of Steve Johnson, and the Matrix Motorsport driver now up into 10th place.
Indeed. Oh, look at the amount of pressure that Johnson put on. He's gone for a big move down into turn 6. Oh, tiny bit of contact there. That wouldn't have helped Lagarde at all.
Oh, front wing's lost on Casey Lagarde's car. The left front has gone.
Yeah, that was. I'm afraid it was his own fault. That move was done pretty much from Johnson, and sadly, this Casey Lagarde trying to cut a little bit too close to the rear wheel of Johnson. There, that's going to cost Casey Lagarde pretty badly. back up to the top spots then as Dean Vella's got himself a little bit of breathing space now from Kian Butler. 4th place, Jorn Dix. 5th place, Silva Vieira as well. They're not too far apart as that's crazy goal. Big spin. Oh, wow. I did say that if you make a mistake, you're more likely to affect several people's race. I mean, he's got a lot of track to turn onto there. But I suspect that Casey Garford's 2nd week in a row, he's met grief early on. And I suspect he's going to spend quite a while in the pits after that one.
Yeah, well, luckily enough, Dominic Rustermeyer was going past him at a massive rate of knots. And Lagarde's spin. Let's just have a look at the replay here. Okay, so this is with Johnson. Okay, there's the contact that loosens and dislodges the left front wing end plate. And you can just see he's trying to close on Johnson right there. Down the back straightaway. Now, Dominic Rustermeyer is just behind, where Casey Lagarde actually loses. So you're going to see, you can see how hard he is on the brakes going through the twisty stuff, is the number 3 from Matrix Motorsport. And there is where the first moment happens. And he takes a little bit of excess curb there. Coming through, he just goes onto the grass. The back end steps out to the left, pitches the car to the right. Oh, and Dominic Rustermeyer was so lucky, and so were the 2 other cars behind. But Casey Lagarde now having to languish at the back part of the field, but looks to have sharp, as there's more dramas here for Casisalu. He's got Silva Vieira, Hanus, and Nicolas Valleja. They are all battling over 5th position. And if I'm honest here, Jorn Dix hasn't got away from this quartet quite now.
He's got a tiny bit of breathing space, but he needs to really use this opportunity to the maximum he can. Look at this great 5-car battle going on here. Casisalu, Silva Vieira, Hannes, Valleja, and Amazin is the tail end of this particular train as well. What a great scrap we've got going on here. 5 cars arguing for 5th place as we ride on board so you see that's the tail end of the train that we're riding on board with in the bottom right hand corner as we look on the off-boards at Casisalu, now trying to reel in Jorn Dix again. So that's the time to do it. That's the opportunity to try and get the correct words out in the correct order in a minute. That's the best opportunity he's going to have to slipstream, because of course the straight is longest, so the slipstream is going to be most powerful. But he was quite a way back, so he would have gained a bit, but not as much as he would have liked. So although he's doing a pretty good job of reading in Jorn Dix, so Jorn's not using the greatest opportunity. Oh, here's Darrell Russell then. So a great fight going on here in 13th position for himself and Andy Birch. And then right ahead of them is Rustermeyer and Russell as well. So as we thought would happen, lots of battling going on. Oh, that's very deep going through turn 6 with Darrell Russell. Just about fends off Andy Birch as they come through turn 7 now. So this could be it does look like a great opportunity then for the 72 car to claim that 13th spot. Bit of slipstream, gone for the inside line. That should be a fairly straightforward move. Darrell Russell doesn't fight up on too long. He's realised that move is done. And that's Andy Birch up into 13th.
Yeah, and things are getting even closer between 4th and what is 9th position. There's David Kalasai. And with 8 minutes completed of the race, he's already got a 4.5 second gap over Dean Vella from GT Omega RPM Esports. Kian Butler from Lightspeed Esports looking a bit lonesome. He's about 1.2 seconds off of Vella at the moment. But this battle here, now this is 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th. As now, Hannah's looking towards the inside of Silva Vieira, going in towards turn 1. As now Valleja goes up the inside of Maisin going through into turn 1. Will the number 18 get through? Not quite. Oh my goodness me. Now this is a battle that I foresee could go on pretty much for the entire race. I think we had that with Dean Vella and Kian Butler last time at Adria, because everyone else was four-wheel drifting, going through the likes of Quadro Uno and Quadro Due. But here at Indianapolis, it's a completely different kettle of fish altogether, as now Rustermeyer coming under fire from Max Carrion in the battle for 11th position. They're going through turn 6 and then into the right-hander at 7. Max Carrion's really put, he's got the bit between his teeth, hasn't he? But kicks up a little bit of dust coming through turn 7 and onto the back straightaway, and we're on board in the picture-in-picture as he's closing on Rustermeyer once again for P11.
And they are, and they've also got Steve Johnson in the firing line as well. So that's a three-way battle for 10th place going on. Oh, wow, that's gone all wrong suddenly for Roostermeyer. I wonder whether we couldn't quite see from the camera. I think he went a little bit too deep into turn 8 and could not get back in front of Max Carrion quick enough. So he essentially just had to let that one go. And again, that just shows how easy it is to make a mistake. All of these drivers are very, very quick drivers. So it's very easy under fire to make that kind of mistake. And you only have to miss your braking point by a tenth, a few meters. And that can send you miles out of where you want to be. And you lose so much momentum. And some places, such as, coming out of that final turn, momentum is all key. As we look at it again, and there you go. So he has indeed gone too deep into turn 8 and really had to correct the car quite heavily, which has lost all that momentum, and down into 12th went Dominic Roostermeyer. So nowhere near out of it, of course. Long, long way to go yet. But those little mistakes can be very, very costly.
Yep, Casey Lagarde unfortunately has retired from the race. The 3 from Matrix Motorsport, the car back behind the wall at the Brickyard. So we're down to 15 runners and riders. And there is David Kalasai, still leading. And he's done a fantastic job so far. I did say, and I did call it right, that he was holding something back. Kieran McGinley, I think, also had the same inkling as me. And let's have a look at this replay that's just coming through here. Here's Casey Lagarde, and that's through turn 7. He's going to go down the back straightaway. Oh, the car just decides to smack the wall on the right-hand side. And, yeah, the front end just quite literally gets obliterated. And that is Casey Lagarde's retirement from the race. A real shame. He will pick up another point for starting the race, but will be at the bottom end of the table at the end of it. Top 13 score points. And Dean Vella still trying to do his utmost. Can still see David Kalasai in the distance as we've got 18 minutes and 20 seconds to go. But Jon Dix now coming under pressure from, it's not Tanel Kasesalu, because in the meantime, look, there's an absolute dogfight going on between Vaya and Maisin has got past Vaya in the 18 going into turn 1, and now can see Hans Hannes, but no, Nicolas Vaya pulls it round the outside through turn 2. Vaya with an absolutely inhumane overtake round the outside of Alexei Maisin. Maisin had him done going through turn 1, but Vaya went, hold my beer.
Denied, sir.
Thou shalt not pass, good sir.
Well, the problem they're giving themselves is that they are beginning to try. Look at the gap that's now formed between Vaya and Hannes. Hannes is very much concentrating on Kasasani for that 6th position.
Oh.
There is
Valla's got a penalty in the meantime. There. Vaya is now out of this battle. So that's going to give Maisin an opportunity to try. He'll get some clean air. So Vaya, that will be a drive-through. Possibly more than likely for... Right, okay, race control are now bringing through penalties, and Vaya is... this is as a result of the incident with Hans Hannes, as Vaya goes all shot coming off the track. Right, drive-through for Vaya for causing an avoidable collision, and that was with Hans Hannes in the number 91. So that now means that Vaya has to serve a drive-through penalty. That will mean the likes of Stephen Johnson, Max Carrion, and Dominic Roostermeyer, along with Andy Birch, will now overtake Vaya, and Vaya will have to battle for probably at highest 9th place, as now Roostermeyer being swamped all over the back of his rear wing, and there goes Andy Birch in the 72 up the inside. Oh, lock up the brakes from the 72, but well, that was definitely smoking on the right front tyre for Andy Birch right there. That pun was definitely going to be used at one point or another this season. You know that, Chris. Yeah.
I'm just annoyed I didn't use it before you.
There's still plenty of time for us both to use it, mate.
Yeah, but look at what that's put Vaya down to 14th. I mean, the pit lane at Indianapolis is very, very long. So that's a great, great shame for Vaya. But who knows? I mean, whilst there is 16 minutes of the race still to go, that is half of it nearly done. It's flown by. Kalasai is just out for a Sunday drive again. He's got nothing really to worry about right now. But Stephen Johnson has plenty to worry about as he's now fighting to hang on to that 9th spot away from Max Carrion, Andy Birch, and Dominic Rustermeyer, all in a wonderful scrap for that what is now 9th position. Oh, and look at that. Carrion had a lovely run on the exit of turn 11, but had nowhere to use it. He had to back out of that, and the car getting very, very squiggly. He's very much misbehaving. Is in the dirty air of Johnson's car, but does keep it all under control, as we can see on with the onboard shot in the bottom right-hand corner. As they now come back onto the start-finish straight, and again, that's just misbehaving itself, but that's actually going to give a wonderful opportunity to Andy Birch in the 72. Oh, we're going to see a 3 wide coming down into turn 1. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. The 3 wide. Who's going to be bravest on the brakes? Who's got the biggest stones? And that remains, that 9th position remains in Steve Johnson, but that's Carrion and Burt having an argument for 10th position now. And they remain in the position they were, but that's a bad run for Carrion coming out of turn 3 and just manages to hold on to that one. That's given Steve Johnson a little bit of breathing space, but don't expect that to last for too long.
No, we're past the halfway point as Yondex has got Ruiz Silva Vallera from Atlantic Motorsport battling with him. Vallera towards the outside, going through into the next left-hander. Jon keeps it pinned on the apex. The back end steps out to the right-hand side. Vieira just with him. And I think it's probably going to be when we get onto the banking here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. As long as Jon Dix from Team Schmoken doesn't cause any problems for himself. Picture in picture with looking backwards, and there is Vieira. He's right up the back bumper. He's going towards the outside for the very next corner, and Vieira sends it, and then some round the outside of Jon Dix goes Ruiz Silva Vieira right in the infield. That is an absolutely outrageous manoeuvre. Good work, Ruiz Silva Vieira, and that puts him up into P4. But we know that Jon Dix will not keep that one line down at all.
No, and look at the 3-way battle going on behind them as well. As we can see in the in picture. Wow, Hans Hanna's nearly nailing Meisen to the wall as they come down the start-finish straight. Not that battle we've just been watching isn't done either. Is Meisen going to be able to over? Oh no! Meisen gets tapped by Hans Hanna's. Oh, and spins round. Oh no! What a shame! And no, that was. I think that was Jon Dix in the smoking car. It was one of the smoking cars, very much smoking as it was going sideways. Hopefully we'll catch up with that in a bit. But Jon Dix, there he is in 5th position. So Silva Vieira has managed to overhaul him for 4th position. There is Casasalu now closing back in on Jon Dix. So he's looking to resume that particular battle. What a shame, though, for that impact between Meisen and Hans Hannes. That was looking like a great battle going into turn 1. But again, that is the nature of single-seater racing. As we look at Jon Dix now, he's got a bit of a gap, 4.5 now. He's going to have to close in, what is he, about 1.2 seconds if he wants to start challenging Silva Vieira again. There is Hans Hannes. No one immediately around him now as he did have that impact with Meisen, which was a bit of a shame. I'm sure that will be looked at by the stewards, and if penalty is due, that will be dished out in due course, but we will see what they say. But yeah, now it does look like, finally it took 2/3 of the race almost for people to start settling down into a rhythm. But we'll see how the rest folds out. Still some battling going on. There's Stephen Johnson and Andy Birch still having an argument over 9th position. And there is, that's Rustermeyer. That's right behind them as well. So there's still argument going on via...
Oh, Max Carrions had a moment. Carrions, that's his 2nd moment in the last lap. Max Carrion actually went wide coming out of turn 3. Or was that Stephen? Well, there's Stephen Johnson. Andy Birch looking to outbrake him. Going through into turn 1. Will Birch have the stones to do it? Not on that particular occasion. He goes as deep as he dare into the braking zone. And there is Rustermeyer not too far behind. But Nicolas Vallea has now recovered. Max Carrion's dropped all the way down to 14th. And there is the number 83 in your picture-in-picture. A little bit further up, we've just seen Jon Dix being chased by Tanel Casasalu going through in towards turn 7. And it looks like there has been another moment. So, Hans Hannes gets a drive-through penalty as a result of that turn 1 impact with Alexi Meisen. So, Hans Hannes will drop. I will definitely say this now, will be outside of the top 10 But with the pace of that number 91 and that resplendent Brawn GP 001 or Team Rocket RJN set of colours, as used in British GT, will find its way trundling very slowly down the pit lane as we are fast approaching the final third of this 30-minute race, round 2 of the World Pro Racing USF 2000 Series Championship here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, before we head to the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve at Portimao in Portugal next week, as there is a move that's carrying up the inside of Russell. But Russell goes a bit wide through into the right-hander. Carrion also has a bit of a moment there too. And this is a squabble over 13th position. 10 minutes remaining. Carrion going round the outside of Russell. Oh my goodness me. It wasn't bad enough that Ruiz Silva Vallera did the same thing on Jon Dix a couple of laps ago. But Carrion's just found his second win and has got his way past the Atlantic Motorsport entry of Darrell Russell, who's looking to make it 2 abreast going into the first corner here at the Brickyard. And Russell puts on the brakes nice and deep there up the inside, gets the move done before the apex of the left-hander at turn 2, and exiting out of the pit lane and closing in on their 6s is the number 91 of Hans Hannes.
Very well driven from both of them there. It was, Darrell Russell could have easily kind of lost his head on that one with the defending moves he was doing. But well driven from both Russell and Carrion. Yeah, they now have Hans Hannes joining that party. That's going to be a very difficult car to keep behind him. There's the back shot from Darrell Russell. Oh, and you just saw Max Carrion's car getting a bit squiggly coming out of turn 7. There's going to be a lovely, big dose of slipstream there for Hans Hannes. Oh, someone locked up there as Vallera and Johnson have just swapped around. I think Steve Johnson's had a moment somewhere because we did see those yellows come out, and I think Steve Johnson has lost quite a bit of time there. So the 85 has been off somewhere. Oh, again, Max Carrion, you saw just they were coming out of turn 11. That car just did not want to steer. He's lost all that momentum. Here comes Hans Hannes. Is he going to try and make a dive on the inside of 12, on the inside of 13? Nope. But oh goodness me, that's deep again for Darrell Russell. Here we go again. We rather saw this how this played out. Oh, Hans Hannes. I'm not sure he was anticipating the line that Darrell Russell was going to take there on board with the. I think that's Hans Hannes we're seeing in the picture-in-picture. Slipstream for 1, slipstream for 2. Oh, goodness me. Steve Johnson's going to be very popular in a minute. 3 wide coming into turn 1. Who's going to be brave? Here we go again. Who's going to be bravest on the brakes? No, Max Carrion's fancy none of that. He's backed out of that one. But Hans Hannes is actually now the pair of them before they've got to turn 1. Darrell Russell trying to do something about it. Can't get the power down when he needs it. Max Carrion's still there, keeping the pressure on. Oh, wow. It does look like Darrell is really struggling to get the car turning in where he needs it to. We're seeing quite a few understeers from the 21 car, but once again, well driven from all 3 of them.
Well, my goodness me, that is just showcasing how tough it is. There's a moment there for Max Carrion going through the right-hander at turn 7. He took a wallop of grass and kicked up the dust whilst doing so, but this battle for 12th position now being led by Hans Hannes as we go on board with Max Carrion from the roll hoop on the USF 2000. It's a Van Diemen chassis, as there's a moment there for Darrell Russell. Oh, he definitely did not want a tank slapper at that particular moment going through the twisty stuff. As we now head on through the right-hander here and head onto the iconic banking for the shortest of proverbial moments before slamming on the brakes down a couple of gears. Oh, that's a move and a half if Carrion's going to try and send it past Darrell Russell. Not on this particular occasion. Oh, he nearly bumps into the back. Oh, and Carrion has a moment. The back end steps out to the right-hand side. And Max Carrion has got to do all that work again. Now, I've just seen that Salu has just ended up in the pit lane. Now, is that for repairing damage? So, and I've just been informed. Oh, Jon Dix, not very much flavour of the month for race control.
Oh dear.
An incident between him and Silva Vallera. Jon Dix gets a 10-second post-race penalty as Tanel Salu rejoins, and he was 6th coming into this race. He's now in the point standings, and with just under 6 minutes to go, he is now 14th on the road.
That's a shame. So late in the race and having to pit for repairs. Casasalo is 4.4 seconds behind Max Carrion. Well, he can do it, but with very little time left to go much further than that, that's going to be a tough day in the office for Casasalo. Here's Dominic Rustemeyer up in 8th position ahead of Vaea. Now, where was Dominic last time? He finished 13th last time out, so that's a good haul of points for him. And right behind him, Vaea came home in, reminding myself where he came, it was 12th for Nicholas Vaea. So again, a decent pair of scores for them. We look again at Max Carrion still pressuring Darrell Russell. And still status quo maintained between these two, where they've been for quite a number of laps now. It really is going to be who blinks first between these two.
Very much the case, but Max Carrion's got a hell of a lot of speed and momentum. He's going to pull to the right-hand side. Well, he thinks about it once, then goes once bitten, twice shy, decides to go up the inside. Russell toward the outside, going through into turn one. Max Carrion. Darrell Russell turns across the front of Max Carrion. And I think that is going to be a penalty, possibly coming the way of Darrell Russell there, because Carrion was alongside him enough, and that would have, in the eyes of the race director, probably given him the right of way. And that, you could tell by the amount of pace that Max Carrion had right there, Chris. The move was on. I think it was just Darrell Russell just got unsighted. He turned in, realised it was too late, and there comes enter stage left, Max Carrion. We're going to see it from this replay here now. You can just see, Carrion, I think, was enough alongside. Wouldn't you agree?
Very much so. He was almost completely alongside there. I think Max was quite rightly braking earlier because he would have had a narrower line through that apex, and sadly, Darrell Russell just turned in too much and smashes the side and the front wing of his opponent, which is a great shame as we look at Rustemeyer and Vaea continuing their battle for 8th place. And what a great scrap they've had for quite a while. 3.5 minutes left to go. It's been a tremendous race. Here we go again. Look how early Dominic Rustemeyer goes to that defensive line. You can't keep weaving around. Pick your line and stick to it. He's gone defensive again, and that's going to force Nicholas Vaea onto the inside line. Is he going to commit to it? No, he backs out of that one. Didn't fancy trying to outbrake Rustemeyer into turn one. And he's got to do it all over again. He's only going to have a couple of laps left to do something about that 8th position. Yeah,
Nicholas Vaea has been... he's had the bit between his teeth, hasn't he? All the way down in 14th, now back up to P9. And Dominic Rustemeyer feeling the heat. And as they say, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. But that's definitely one thing that Rustemeyer will not want to do, is to relinquish this position easily to Nicholas Vaea with 2.5 minutes remaining on the clock. David Calasai leading Dean Vella by just over 2.8 seconds as Nicholas Vaea looking up the inside again of Rustemeyer after the back straightaway through the left-hander at turn 8. No dice going through there. Into the right at 9. Through into the left at 10. And then we got turn 11. The 90 right here before they go through. And there is more battling. Max Carrion, Darrell Russell, and that looks like Tanel Casisalo. More blows again! More clashes again. Carrion this time on Russell, and Tanel Casisalo says, "Thank you very much, sunshine. That'll do."
Oh no! As Carrion has come together, I think Carrion was very much the innocent victim on that second impact. Indeed. Oh dear! It's all gone horribly wrong, and Max isn't moving either. So big trouble there for him as we now look at Vaea and Rustemeyer once again continuing their battle for 8th position, whilst we were looking at the battle for what was 12th between Casasali, Russell and Carrion. It's a shame that ended the way it did, because that was looking like a great three-way battle, but we'll let the stewards figure that one out. I don't envy them that particular job. Vaea doing everything he can. Oh, and that's a bit deep for Rustemeyer. Can Vaea get alongside? No, not quite. Going out of turn 4 into 5. We've seen a big move into 6. Is he going to try and switch back? No, he thinks better of that one. Oh, but he has gone with the inside line. Rustemeyer's gone very, very wide. And finally, Nicholas Vaea, with all the pressure he's been putting on Rustemeyer, and finally the number 18 is up into 8th place.
So we've got less than 60 seconds of round 2 of the World Pro Racing USF 2000 Championship. David Kalasai on the final lap. And it has been one of those, I'm going to use the term because it is used a lot in sim racing. And Mr. Buxton, I'm sure you'll agree, a very alien-esque performance once again this very evening from Mugen Sim Racing's David Kalasai. Came into this with an 18-point advantage. He'll get 10 points for picking up pole position, a further point for starting the race, then it'll be a further 18 points. Obviously, it will also depend on how his consistency has been, because he's been rather unchallenged. And I would hazard a guess that he's also taken the fastest lap, so he's going to have quite a few points. I think he's going to be close to 70 as the timer now hits 0. That was Dean Veller I'd spotted in the background there, but David Kalasai from Mugen Sim Racing in the 25, you know, he has come here, done the job, and that is all that has been asked of him. He's done exactly what he's needed to do, and Chris Buxton, he's remained untroubled since taking pole in quali.
Indeed, he has, as Max Carrion has retired his car, alas, before the checkered flag falls. Car 21, which is Darrell Russell, is going to be having a 15-second post-race penalty for causing that avoidable incident with Max Carrion, but he's already last. Your winner here at Indianapolis for round 2 of the World Pro Racing USF 2000 Series is once again David Kalasai. Second round, second for Dean Veller. Very nicely done. Rounding out the podium this time is going to be the Lightspeed Esports number 7 of Kian Butler, but he has been chased home by Ruiz Silva Vieira. Doesn't quite have the momentum to overhaul him, but a great run for Rue there to come home in 4th. Jorn Dix for Team Smoking comes home in 5th place. And there is Alexei Mizin coming home in 6th position. And I thought someone out of fuel for a minute, but then that's David Kalasai on the slowdown lap. 7th is going to be Andy Birch in the 72 car. 8th, it looks like it's going to go the way of Vieira with Roostermeyer. That via Roostermeyer battle going down to the wire, but it was indeed Vieira that looked like he was going to come home with the greater haul of points there. But we didn't see a lot of David Kalasai, but you cannot question that was just... He was a little bit challenged into turn 1 and then just danced off into the sunset, which is exactly what I said probably wouldn't happen. But then I'm pretty sure I said the same thing last week and got proven exactly the same way. But there is, without any further steward's intervention, the finishing results: Kalasai first, Dean Veller second, Kian Butler third, Ruiz Silva Vieira fourth, Jorn Dix fifth, Alexis Mizin sixth, Andy Burt seventh, Nicholas Vieira eighth, Dominic Roostermeyer ninth, and Stephen Johnson rounding out the top 10. What a race, Alex Goldschmidt.
Yep, Jorn Dix will be demoted down to 6th position as a result of his 10-second post-race penalty. Hans Hannesson 11th, Tannen Kasisalu in 12th. Now, obviously, the 83 of Max Carrion, he DNF'd anyway, so his 15 seconds will be added to his race time anyhow. Darrell Russell is the 14th and final classified finisher, with Trev Sharp starting down in 16th but finishing in 13th at the end of it all. And that really rounds out things here for Indianapolis. David Kalasai, 2 for 2. Can it be third time's the charms ports him out? Well, I'm going to say this, and I'm sure you're going to agree, Chris. The jury's going to be out on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very different type of circuit again. It's very twisty, very big undulation changes at Portimao. But, I mean, David Kalasai has set the bar very, very high. But, I'm just as interested in the battle for the remaining, the second, third, and fourth, because, they were 0 points and 2 points apart leading into this round. Dean Veller, Kian Butler, Hans Hannesson, Jorn Dix. Those 4 people only separated by 2 points. So there's so much fighting, there's so much available to our drivers at this stage. I can't wait.
I think that gap will be more than just 2 points.
It will be now, yes.
Yeah, it will be now. But, at the end of the day, we've had some great performances. I mean, I think, again, Kian Butler, you said about the starts from the second or third row. Kian Butler, again, for the second race in succession, managed to do so. Well, speaking of Cian Butler, Cian is with us. Also joining us is Dean Vella. So first of all, let's head to Cian Butler. Cian, again, another lightning start like at Adria, but you finished up in third position at the end of it. A very different race to what we had last time out last week.
Yeah, I just wasn't able to make the positions up at the start like I wanted to. I had two positions really, or two times really, where I had a chance to make it up, and I didn't really capitalize on them. And overall, Dean's pace was really good today, so once he got out in front of me, I wasn't really able to catch up. Thankfully, I think Indy's one of my weaker circuits, so hopefully that's something we can try and not repeat in the future.
Obviously, out of the three tracks that we're going to, we've got Portimao next week, we've got Watkins Glen as the penultimate round on week 4, and then Oulton Park. Which out of those three would you say is probably going to be the one that we're going to have to really keep our eyes on you for?
I'm really hoping that Portimao and Watkins will be my strong suits. Of course, it's going to be another story to try and get close to Kalasai, because he's absolutely rapid. So if I can get close to him, we'll see what we can do. But otherwise, Dean's obviously the guy to watch out for between him and I for the championship in second and third.
Well, Cian Butler, well done tonight. Another third position. We'll see you next week at Portimao.
Thank you.
Chris, if you'd like to have a chat with our second place finisher for tonight, Dean Vella.
I certainly shall. So, second place for GT Omega RPM Esports, Dean Vella. Are you with us, sir?
Hello, yeah, good evening.
Good evening to you, Mike. You barely had, early on, you just had no time to breathe. You had a lot of fighting going on. Then, in the second half of the race, it looked like you just kind of had to settle into your rhythm. Was that about right? Is that what it felt like for you?
I mean, more or less, yeah, the first few laps were a bit chaotic, but I just tried to maintain my tires as much as possible, and it did pay off at the end, because I built a healthy gap to Butler, but still the main issue is that I wasn't fast enough for David, so that's something definitely to work for next time.
Was Indianapolis a circuit that you were pretty confident about being in the top 3, or was it a circuit that you weren't so confident with?
Not really. I guess somewhere in the midpoint. Really, I felt okay in qualifying, but I wasn't sure that I would maintain race pace. But actually, race pace was pretty decent, even better than kind of what I showed in qualifying. Really.
So of the remaining tracks, so that's Portimao, Watkins Glen, and Oulton Park. What are your thoughts towards those 3 venues?
I only raced on Portimao. I think the other ones I'm still a bit new to them. So yeah, just I'm a bit more excited for Portimao since it's the one I actually know. But the others still just practice till I get fast enough, I guess. Yeah.
I'm sure you will be as lightning quick as you always have been. But we wish you the best of luck for the remaining season. Thank you very much, Dean Vella.
Thank you. Good night.
And last but by no means least, once again, a second successive pole position, a second successive victory. Mugen Sim Racing's David Kalasai. David, free practice, we were waiting, and I said there might be something in the tank. You definitely brought that, and you won the race rather comfortably, and you now have an extensive points lead going into the halfway point of the season. How are you feeling after what was a rather untroubling race, apart from when you had Dean Vella one side and Cian Butler the other going into turn 1 on the very first lap?
It was a pretty tough one because I thought Dean will hold that car next to me and he will dive, but he didn't, and I was fortunate because I could gain much gap between us and maintain that gap on the entire race, but I wouldn't say it was an easy one for me, because I saw on the map, on the mini map, that I had the very same pace as Dean and Cian had, and I had to push like hell, but actually I had to take care of the car and my driving, because if I had had a big mistake, they had been on my mirror.
Congratulations on your victory tonight.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I've just been informed by Race Control that the number 21, that is Darryl Russell, will get a 2-place grid penalty for the next round at Portimao for repeated incidents with the 83, and that will be of Max Carin. So that's the first post-race grid penalty that we've got for the next round at Portimao. But Chris, another exciting race. We had battles all the way from 4th all the way down to 14th. Things are looking rather exciting ahead of the halfway point at Portimao, aren't they?
Just a tad. And last week at Adria, that was a great indicator for what we were going to look forward to for the season. And wow, even though Indianapolis is a very different circuit, that's true. The action was even better, if anything. So yeah, I can't wait for Portimao. Not so much a slipstreaming effort going on. That's all going to be about car control. Which again, it's something that these guys have shown very good at. But when you're very close to somebody else, that close quarters combat, we saw quite a few mistakes this week. So Portimao should be an absolute cracker.
Well, that's it for us here on World Pro Racing for the USF 2000 Series Championship. Round 2 in the books. In a week's time, we head to the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve in Portimao in Portugal. So, really, firstly, we have to thank all our sponsors once again. Gaming Malta, Thrustmaster, GT Omega Racing, HyperX, where we're all gamers, AMD as well, along with our viewers on the World Pro Racing YouTube channel. If you are watching on there, please don't forget to give this video a like, hit the subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell for the next event, which will take place this coming Friday, the 26th of March, which will be the 2 hours of Mount Panorama on the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform. As always, a big thank you to everyone watching in Malta on TVM Sport, our viewers on motorsport.tv and eSports Television. On behalf of Chris Buxton and myself, Alex Goldschmidt, it's good night for now, and we'll see you again next time for the USF 2000 Series here on World Pro Racing.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.